I started at Disney Studios in September of 1934. I'd been going to Chenard's studying illustration with Pruitt Carter, as several of the fellows had been, and he stopped teaching, and so we had to go out and get jobs. There was a depression going on, but fortunately Walt was expanding his staff. So we all went out there and got employment, and then as soon as we were all hired, Pruitt started teaching again, and I always wondered about that. But I don't think illustration was for me anyway. I was very fortunate in that my interest was widespread in the cartoon business, but mainly zeroed in on character animation. That's the part that really intrigued me. Personalities, getting the characters to act and to reveal their personalities, their humor, and their interplay with other characters. And that coincided with what Walt was looking for. That's why I was fortunate. If I'd come along 30 years later, I would have had a harder time. 50 years later, I wouldn't have made it. I would have stayed with illustration. But I came at the right time for what was going on.
I remember I heard you told a story about the spaghetti eating sequence.
And Lady and the Tramp.
Lady and the Tramp. And
I came on the sequence late, and I didn't see anything that I could really animate in there. Two dogs eating spaghetti didn't seem like the most romantic thing to draw. And I had a couple of dogs, and I watched them, and that wasn't the way to go. So I found this thing of the last meatball on discards of the story sketches, and I asked Ed Penner, who'd done the story, I said, why was that thrown out? Did Walt not like it or something? And he said, no, I think, I don't know what he thought, but you could put it back in if you wanted. I said, you know, my neck's going to be way out if I put that back in after Walt threw it out. He said, oh, that's all right. So I put it back in, and it worked, fortunately. It was the key to making the whole thing come off. Pretty threadbare sequence, actually, not much to draw. How do you draw a lovesick dog?
eating spaghetti.
Yeah.
That worked really well. It really pulled the whole film together and made that relationship work. Are you doing any computer animation these days?
I can't say that I'm doing any, but I'm interested in it, and I'm doing a lot of consulting, and I get lots of phone calls about it. But it's easy to say, well, you ought to do this, and they say, well, we can't do that yet. What else could we do? And I scratch my head and I say, well, I think we could do something like this, but that's not really getting in there. And I find very frustrating to punch the keys, and the image up here isn't anything like what I know it ought to be. And they say, oh, well, you ought to be on this other computer. It would be, it would give you more of what you're looking for. And they're making great strides. I don't think, they're never going to replace the artist, of course, but I think that there should be, you should be able to communicate to an audience through computer-generated graphics. And right now it costs even more than animation, and animation is terribly expensive now, but theoretically the animation costs will continue going up because it's people-oriented, while the computers will come down.
Are you working on another book, you and Ollie, now?
Yes, we have one on the Disney humor, the type of gags that developed, because that was a rather unique thing too. Not to extend this too long, but anyway, it's a very interesting assignment, and we think the book would be pretty popular. It'll have a lot of the gags in it, a lot of the nostalgia, but also quite a bit of educational material.
Well, if it's like your former book, I'm sure it will.
It's going to be smaller. It won't be quite as heavy to carry around.
Is there any thought you'd like to express or leave us with? Story, a thought on animation? Or?
Well, animation is a wonderful art form, and it's very sad to see it go the way it is going today. There are not the opportunities that we had. On the other hand, you balance that with new areas opening up for the artists. They won't be trained as we were. They won't have the knowledge or the skills, but they will have something which will enable them to keep the business alive and keep themselves communicating with an audience.
Well, thank you very much, Frank. We'll see you this evening.
A pleasure.